It starts with your belief system. My father's always taught faith, that faith will provide everything you need. It's a currency, it's a download, it's your healing, it's everything. And the first step was the faith, and he sowed that seed in me. He always said, Melody, you can do this. You've been here, you understand the needs, you've been under this word.
You are here. Welcome to the Purpose Finder podcast. This is the show where we uncover why you are truly here and, more importantly, how to make it your reality. My father, the late Dr. Miles Monroe, said the greatest tragedy in life is not death, but life without purpose. And research further shows that people with a strong sense of purpose are 2.4 times more likely to feel fulfilled. Each week, I sit down with extraordinary guests, entrepreneurs, artists, thought leaders who are boldly living their why. We dive deep into their journeys, the struggles they've overcome, their breakthroughs, and the lessons that can help you do the same. I am your beautiful host, Charissa Monroe Wilborn, and we're about to explore the mindsets, tools, and strategies to help you live a life with purpose, passion, and legacy. Are you ready? Let's go and dive into the episode. And we are back to another great, amazing episode here on the Purpose Finder podcast, where our mission is simple: to help you find and uncover your life's purpose and to live a life flowing with meaning, fulfillment, and what's the last one? Significance. Why do I talk about these? Because deep down, we all crave and seek belonging. No one wants to feel unfulfilled. And we are all searching, wanting to answer that big question: why in the world am I here? But I hope you can find your answer right here on the Purpose Finder podcast. I am your host, Charissa Monroe Wilborn, and today I have the incredible honor, privilege, and pleasure of sitting with an amazing woman, a great woman, a a sister, if you will, to me, because we share some of the same background, some of the same lifestyles. So I'm looking forward to getting into that. But help me welcome Melody Winston, the executive director of the church that her father has established, the Living Word Christian Center. Melody, welcome. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you
Thank
so much for saying yes. Just thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank
Thank
you
you.
for having me. I am so excited to bond with my sister from the Caribbean. Well, I need to be over there right now. Chicago's pretty cold right now, but thank you for having me on your podcast. I look forward to doing a deep dive into some of the commonalities that we share, our growth, our testimonies, the grace, and the love that we have felt through the years to develop into the women that we are now, and hopefully we can be a positive inspiration to others coming up behind us.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And we are going to get deep. I am going to dive deep down there and explore some of your journeys and stories on this journey to living out your purpose. And you're doing it very well. You're doing it very boldly. It's the lessons that I want the listeners to learn from. It's the lessons that I want them to hear so that they can see themselves and hopefully say, you know what, if she can do it, so can I. So I know they don't want to hear about me. I'm not going to read a bio of you, but I do want to give you the opportunity to, from your heart, tell us where you're from, who you are, what you're doing, all that good stuff.
Well, it started at Seymour Johnson Air Force Base, or even before that. My mom and dad met in college at Tuskegee Institute in Tuskegee, Alabama, back then, and married. And then my father went to the Air Forces when I was born. He was actually over in Korea fighting. He was a Top Gun fighter pilot at that time. So the first time he saw me, my mother had to take me overseas for him to get a good look at me, and we were, that father daughter bond started there. And then growing up, moving to Chicago at a young age, family dynamics were everybody on my mother's side were doctors. So high expectations. Started the first Black medical clinic in the United States called the Williams Clinic, located on the south side of Chicago. And they were still all very much in aviation, flyers, pilots. They were World War II, Air Force and medical doctors. So my father bonded with my mother's side of the family, the men who were pilots, and which kind of started him on his road out of Tuskegee University into going into the Air Force. So doing that, watching my parents work and grandparents, started working really young, helping out wherever I could, and just getting involved in the family business. But then we lost my grandfather, who was somewhat the leader, the namesake, the person who drove everybody to from education, which was a priority, to just communing with the family and pulling the family together, family dinners, Sunday, church, all of that. He died in a plane crash. He was coming back from Jamaica, family trip. And I lost my grandfather, my uncle, and his fiance at the same time. Um, and so moving forward, I often flew with him as a child. I jumped into aviation. It was something that was important to me. It was important to my grandfather. It was important to my father, and so I stayed there. I was a little girl, but I was the boy that my dad wanted. He wanted that son, but I was tomboy. I was all of that, and just jumped into whatever I thought interested him. Because a lot of times, us as daughters, we try to impress our fathers and show our value and loyalty, and that made me feel good. It's a validation. I'm sure that you felt with your father. That
Absolutely.
validation when they said you did a good job. I
You
see.
want to know that
What,
they're proud. You want to make them proud.
yeah, that's
Yes.
important. That's important. And so I did that. Years later, um, I had two children. I married young. I went into the hair care industry as a cosmetologist. I did that for 13 years. My father had already started his ministry, and he would call the salon every year and say, "Are you ready to come over yet? You ready to work for the church?" Not yet, Dad.
It's so funny you say that because I did social work. I did medical social work, which what I went to
Uh-huh.
school for was my passion. And I did that for a few years. And my dad would, every so often, he would ask that same question. Are you ready? Are
Are
you
you
ready to
ready?
come work with me yet? And I'm like, not really. You ready to come? And when I finally was ready, I still came with just one foot. So it
Yeah.
was part time
Yeah.
working for him,
Uh-huh.
part time working for as a social work, and
Yes.
he was fine with that. He was okay with that. But he was like, "Are you ready yet?" I said, "Not quite, not yet."
And they kept
Um,
asking. He kept
he kept
asking.
asking. He never gave up. To the day that he died, he
Wow.
never gave up. And I still was one foot in, one foot out when he left
Really?
this planet. But I
Mm-hmm.
think he was happy that I even had one foot in
Yes. Absolutely.
willingly.
Yeah.
Working with him. Um, so I'm resonating with your story. Just keep going,
Yeah.
please. Don't stop. Tell us
Well,
more.
so oh my goodness. So after year, he planted that seed in my head, right? Come work for the church. I finally did, and it came at a time where I was going through a transition. I was going through a divorce, and so my mental state was not strong.
Mm,
But I was looking for comfort. I mean, I did everything I could to feed my spirit, from gospel songs playing everywhere I was, Bible study, whoever I could listen to. It was a pastor who I followed because I needed that strength to feed me. I had four children at that time. One was, under the age of one and just had heart surgery. So going through a divorce at a time like that, I was ready to leave the cosmetology field, and I was ready to jump in with 2 feet at that time because I was so weak mentally, and needed that surrounding of positive people to tell me it was going to be okay. You're going to get out of this. The kids are going to be fine. And so I did. I started working for my dad in 2001. He put me in member care, which was great because, okay, member care, benevolence, marriages, weddings, people needed things. It gave me a chance to get to know the members and their needs. And it gave me a place to be strong for them when I couldn't be strong for myself. That was huge for him to, or God to put on his mind and his heart that Melody needed to work in a place where she could serve others who were in need. Um, so that's where I started. Then I went into property management. I got my broker's license to sell real estate. And that became my next love. I was serving the staff. Property management, I considered the staff to be my tenants, and how do I serve them and how quickly is my response time, and the environment that I provided for them was important for them to feel like they were in a place where they had resources and they could think and move and do their whatever their prospective job or roles were, and that we supported them. So that was next, and then the shopping centers came, and then he wanted to buy more real estate, and I'm like, oh man, this is getting a bit much. But he kept pushing, and he said, I want you to learn every department in this ministry. As a
Wow.
child of mine, I need you to do that. And that's the important part is working for family is that you understand fully, the dynamics of the needs of whatever business you're running, whether it's a church or a school or ice cream shop. You need to understand the fullness, of the services and the things that you are supporting, so that you can operate in a space of excellence. So my dad teaches a lot about excellence. From him going from the Air Force to IBM, there is no shortcut, and we all had to learn that. But that's what keeps people in a place where they feel comfortable to
Would
do
you
this. Hmm.
was that learning process that dad was putting you through? Because I feel like all of our dads, especially dads like you and I have, your father being Pastor Bill Winston, in case we haven't said that,
Yes.
great pastor here in Chicago, and my father being the late Dr. Miles Monroe, one of the great pastors in the Bahamas.
Mm-hmm.
You and I have fathers who intentionally pushed,
Yes.
intentionally stretched,
Yes.
intentionally, made you do things that you didn't think you could.
Yeah.
What was that process for you in learning, in being stretched, in doing what you didn't think you can, but the fact that dad was saying it, you're like, well, I can't embarrass you.
Right. I think, it starts with your belief system. My father's always taught faith. And that faith will provide everything you need. It's a currency. It's a download. It's your healing. It's everything. And there are so many that don't have faith that things are going to happen in the best way that they should. The first step was the faith, and he sowed that seed in me. He always said, Melody, you can do this. You've been here, you understand the needs, you've been under this word. And so as long as I kept, you know, um, leaning into the word and feeding my spirit, it kept me strong enough in the belief that I could get something done that I had no idea how I was going to make it happen. I didn't know how, to run a FBO, fixed base operation in Tuskegee. I didn't know how to run a grocery store. Never thought of it. I was trying to think of a way that I could retire early, let alone take on a new project, a new entity that I knew required 7 days a week, 365 days a year. I never thought I could do those things, but he kept me encouraged, and so as you push forward, You've got to keep the word near. You've got to keep, um, I post things all through the house, and he does this too. He does post-it notes. I mean, whenever he's got a strong urge to believe and try to get something into his spirit, he starts posting these post-it notes all over the house. But it's a way of receiving, that healing or that item or that need before it materializes. And so you get to the place where you want something so bad and you start seeing it. I saw myself flying before I was flying. I was having dreams about it because I wanted it so bad. Um, the grocery store is just another item where I see it at each HBCU having their own grocery store where students can learn how to manage and run it from the inventory system to the financials. A lot of times we don't see ourselves in those positions, and nobody sows a seed into our spirit to receive it. So I think he does a great job of sowing seed into people so that they can start to materialize in their spirit, what they want to see in the natural.
So with the I don't knows, with the I didn't know how to do this and I didn't know how to do that, and it was all new to me. Like, what was it that was so important for you to figure it out, and the why? Like, why was it so important for you to say, you know what, I don't know, but I want to know and I'm going to figure out how?
I've got a habit. I don't know if that's a good one or a bad one, but I like to stay really in tune with what's going on in the world. And so I'm watching the news. I do a lot of research online, and I like different perspectives. But one thing that was a commonality was that so many people need food, and they need healthy food,
Mm-hmm.
fresh
Mm-hmm.
food, and they need access to it. And for people to be denied access to healthy food was an issue for me, especially since my heart is to serve. And so that was the why I accepted the plight to go ahead and take over this grocery store and run it. Um, I can't understand, why we get in situations and we've got communities and we've got big box grocery stores and from the Targets to the Walmarts pulling out of communities, knowing that there is no replacement, knowing that there is no plan B. And we've got seniors that, were counting on these locations being close to their homes so that they can get their foods, their medicines, whatever it is. And going around, and when I toured some of these closed big box stores, I ran across a pharmacist that was in there, and the store was closed. Everything was packed up, and she was packing up records, medical records, from previous customers, and she was in tears. And I said, "Why are you crying?" And she said, "I know these seniors for years. They've been coming in here, they walk, this is part of their routine, their exercise in the morning." And she says, "I don't know how they're going to get their medication. I don't know how they're going to get their diabetic medication. I don't know how this is going to happen." I mean, she was just in tears, and I hugged her. And I was looking at the store, hopefully to take it over, in a minority owned, community, one similar to one that I grew up on the south side of Chicago. And so the why became clear. And that's how I look at God. He's a provider. And he wants his people to be able to understand that people have needs, and that we are here to help solve the issues of the world, whether it's a small or big part of it. um, that's where my heart is. It always has been. My family is all my sisters, my brother, we're all a part of serving people first. So, in my capacity, and we talk about the seven mountains, I've considered grocery or food, one of those mountains that we have to conquer as Christians.
I love that you talk about serving, and not only a you thing, but it's ingrained in your DNA with the
Mhm.
family going straight up to your father, and how important serving is, especially when it comes to living a life of purpose. When you think
Yes.
of leadership, like if you have a servant heart, that's where it begins.
Mhm.
You don't have to have the money to do that. You don't have to have the fame and the position and the title to serve. You can serve the homeless person right
Yeah.
on your street corner. You can serve a child who doesn't have a mother, who doesn't have a father, who just needs someone to, to hug them and say, "You are amazing. You are fearfully and wonderfully made." Like service can look so many different ways, just like purpose can look and look so many different ways. Every shape, color, size, texture, like purpose comes looking so many different ways. And
Yes.
who I would not have looked at you, Melody, and thought aviation and thought
No.
flying anything, you know? But it's something you love to do, and it's
Yeah.
something you wanted to do, and it's something you're doing to serve the youth,
Yes. Yes.
minority youth at that.
Yes. Yes.
And you'll talk to us a little bit more about that. But with the grocery store, here it is. You just want to serve the elderly. You want to serve those persons who should have what should be very easy and
Absolutely.
common to them. But I do want to hear more about the aviation that now services the youth.
Hmm. So we in 2009, my father wanted to start a fixed base operation in Tuskegee. Him being born and raised there, we saw that there was no office on Moulton Field that could serve pilots coming in and out, whether it was gas, maintenance, repairs, or just a place where they can plot their next trip. So I took that over in 2009, and I connected with Colonel Kenny Ruffin, and he's in the Air Force, and he had a dream to start Legacy Flight Academy to serve disadvantaged youth by way of exposing them to different areas in aviation, not just flying, but from if you want to be a attorney in aviation, if you wanted to, whatever it was, architect, but getting them out of the neighborhoods, off the corner, get them down to Tuskegee for 2 weeks. We gave them a plane that they had to be responsible for, learn how to put gas in it, make sure the oil, check the oil, all of that. Every field trip they went on, they got in the plane and flew to. But the end goal was one that they would find an interest in aviation. Two, raise their standards of thinking, their logic on just day to day decisions. Learn how teamwork really is important when you want to excel in life. And then finally, hopefully, we would hope that one or two of the kids would actually get their pilot's license by the 2 weeks. So we got a lot of testimonies. We got testimonies that, that Trevor, he's doing better. His grades have improved in school. His teachers calling, saying how well he's behaved. Um, but they would go back with stories that were amazing to the other kids in the community, which positively influenced them. But it's hard out here for children. They're in an era where the internet, social media play a big role in raising our children, and we got to find a way to take them back. So doing this Legacy Flight Academy and forming that nonprofit in 2012 really allowed us to just, I mean, we went around the country. We did pop-ups everywhere, whether it was for a day, a weekend, or 2 weeks, but trying to see how many kids we can really positively influence so that they could raise their standards and see the world from a different view. Not too big, but just small enough that they could take their bite and their piece of it and own it.
And
So
also
that's
not too
important.
narrow, not
Yes.
too narrow, because so my husband has a nonprofit, and he specifically mentors boys,
Yes.
and from the age of about 7, you're looking at fourth grade, all the way up to high school and beyond, graduating and beyond. And part of the issue that we're seeing with the boys today is everybody wants to be a football player,
Yeah.
everybody wants to be a basketball player, everybody wants to be a rapper. And as far as they're concerned, those are the three things that matter. And we are constantly trying to encourage them to think outside of that, think beyond that, think the different trades, think like you mentioned, architect, think flight school,
Yeah.
becoming a captain
Yeah.
of flying, like just to think beyond that. But they only think about what they see on social media a lot. They think about money. Of course, money is first and foremost for these young kids, and so they have this narrow way of thinking. But to imagine them seeing themselves flying in their dream, to
Yeah.
imagine them seeing themselves building buildings that will always be there even beyond your lifetime. You
Yes.
know, my husband has to always teach them that there's only so many jobs, like literally, there's only so many jobs in the NBA
Yes.
available.
Yes.
And there are thousands. And then these same young boys, they want to be NBA players, they want to be NFL players, but they're not on the court every day.
No.
They're
Right.
not on the field every day.
Mhm.
And I'm like, well, if you don't have that mindset to be
Right.
there, we have to get them at the mindset, if you will, and
Yeah.
just expose. And I love that you have an entity that exposes young young people
Yeah.
to what it takes. Yes, we could talk about flying, but here's the mindset it takes. Here's the determination, the discipline, the commitment that it takes to even be someone who is going to fly a 747 or a
Yes.
737
Mhm.
safely from point A to point B.
Mhm.
Um,
And
Go ahead.
it takes a level of thinking where you have to think excellence. Because we're at a time, and like I say, I'm watching the news and I'm saying, okay, they're removing the DEI, they're removing this, or they're this from the books, the history books. But we have to understand that we write our own history, and that history is written by trial and error. It's written by mentors, that come into our lives and teach us, the best way to accomplish a goal. And so there will be no denying of our legacy when it comes to the consistency and the hard work and dedication it takes so that we can be excellent. No one can deny excellence. That level is something that everybody wants and desires. Whether you're a pilot, or a writer or a TV journalist, it's about the consistency to drive something that is a product that everybody wants and needs. So we get really hung up right now on the DEI and the pulling back of these things, but we have to understand that life goes on, and we are not supposed to be of this world. We're supposed to be of a higher level. And that's what God tries to teach us all of the time, that we are not of this world. We are of the kingdom of God.
Absolutely. And as you talk about the youth and taking care of the world's youth that you have access to, I know you mentioned, having children and being divorced. And so now you're in a space where you're doing all of this, but you're a single mother raising children.
Yeah.
And how has that been along the journey of you wanting to serve others, but also being able to serve your own home
Hmm.
excellently, effectively?
So the transition can be a little difficult, because you're so used to the kids and their time and their routines, and not really take care of self. And so it took me a minute to understand, the importance of me and my health, my mental health, physical health, and then creating a new, schedule for myself. You got to go work out. You got, what are you buying for the refrigerator? Well, you're not buying the things that you used to buy for the kids. So it's more healthy, items that promote energy, in me because I need it.
Hmm.
And so that transition hasn't been easy. The first day, my last daughter, she left and went over to, she's at Oral Roberts University in Tulsa now.
Oh,
She's on
nice. She's followed
mission.
in some
She's mission.
great footsteps.
Yeah, she's
That's
mission.
my alma mater right there.
Oh, is
Yes,
it?
it is.
Oh, wow.
Congratulations to her.
Oh, yeah. So she is over there and she's having a wonderful time, and she's
Good for
just
her.
grown and developed. And the day she left, I sat on the stairs at home and cried, because I said, my last one is gone. Not to say that they're not going to return at some point, but I wish them well. I push them out like the eagle does to her little baby birds. Go on out, learn what you need to learn, experience the world, and if you ever need me, I'm here. But it has been a transition trying to find my way now, trying to find what things I'm good at. Um, I have, dreams of writing a book and doing some other things and just talking about and expressing some of the testimonies that I've experienced in life so that the next person doesn't have to actually fall into the pit holes that I did. So I'm still looking. I'm still searching in different ways to express myself and whatever gifts God has given me. But it is not easy because you really got to home in. You got to center yourself. You got to focus. And then you got to have the right people around you, the right circle of friends, to be able to keep you encouraged when you might not feel so encouraged anymore. So it's a process. It's not easy, but you have to intentionally, look for those things and those people and those resources in order to make some of those things happen for your own self.
I'm here in Mexico City at the Pave the Path Retreat 2024.
This first day has been amazing.
We tend to look for answers on the outside of ourselves, but a lot of our solutions to our problems are on the inside of us.
If I had to wrap this up in one word, I would use the word transformative.
One thing I learned day one is, I guess, be open to the applause when you have people that are on your side cheering you on.
Transformation is a process, so I don't expect us to get to a place where we're completely transformed. You should never be transformed. There should always be a transforming continually happening.
My relationship to love is that I believe love is something you have to conquer. So I always go for challenging people versus love is something that you find, or love is something that finds you, where then I would date the people who actually want to be with me and not the ones who are avoiding.
If you want to return home unrecognizable, make sure you are with us next year. You don't want to miss such a beautiful experience.
I've already been thinking of people that I want to run home and tell, and I'm excited to come back next year.
Position yourself to be poured into so that you can be served from your overflow, but make sure that who and what is pouring into you is pouring in life. It's pouring in empowerment. It's pouring in good, positive vibes, because you don't want to be filling and pouring and overflowing on serving the people you serve with a bunch of oil.
Y'all better come on this retreat.
As you talk about your children, and now the last one is gone, and you're crying, but you also want her to do well. You're talking about the aviation company that's focuses on the minority youth. And as I think about even my child, you also mentioned that you co-founded Legacy Flight Academy.
Yes.
So all of that, all of what I just mentioned just now speaks to legacy. And so I would like for you to talk about the importance of legacy to you. And I'm going to assume that you do it all for legacy. The name of my daughter is Legacy because it is that important to me.
Beautiful.
I recognize that she is now my legacy. She's now 2. She just turned 2. And I recognize that she is my legacy. Before she came, my husband and I were trying to figure out a name. And every name I came up with, Melody, over the last 9 months, it was in the toilet. He was flushing it. Didn't like it, flushing it in the toilet. Mind you, didn't give me one name on the table, but he was flushing every name.
Yes.
And so one day we stood up and we were talking about what we wanted for her. We were just sitting down and we were just talking how we wanted this for her, and we wanted her life and her rearing to be like this, and we wanted her to have this principle and have these values and have these morals. And then it came to me suddenly. I said, we're talking about her legacy. I said, why don't we just call her what she is to us?
Yes. Woo.
And it was the first name that did not make it in the toilet bowl. It was the first name that he was like, huh, that may not be so bad. And so every time I call her name, whether I'm calling it because she's just the most precious thing, or whether I'm calling it because she's doing something that is against her name and I want her to be the most precious thing, it's a reminder to me now that everything I do is for legacy. And so, how important is legacy to you in everything that you do now?
Well, I understand that there is a spiritual warfare against legacy, especially if it's legacy that has to do with the kingdom of God. If you're doing the work for the kingdom, the devil's going to work extra hard
Mhm.
overtime to kill that legacy, that dream, that vision, and all of the work to be for naught that you've done to reach a certain plateau. My grandfather, like I said, him and his two brothers started Williams Clinic, which was the first Black medical clinic in the United States. But that legacy deteriorated as my grandfather died in a plane crash. Other brothers started arguing, about the business and how it's supposed to go on. And now that Williams Clinic is a church, actually, now on the south side of Chicago. But the legacy stopped there. Um, my father and I have talked a lot about continuing the legacy and making sure that we are intentional about what we're doing and how we're planning to make sure that Bill Winston Ministries and Living Word Christian Center and all the other entities from the grocery store continue on, no matter who is in place. And so being able to have my four children in a place where their belief systems are strong, their morals are intact, and their core values are expressed through their daily walkabouts is important. That's the first part of legacy, is to understand those things. The second part is to make sure that the communication between you and your family members are transparent.
Mm,
Transparent.
good one. Good
I,
one.
I'm not. I don't believe that I was called to be a pastor, but I do believe that I was called to be a part of the business portion, the business
Mhm.
side, the for-profit entities, and my father has agreed to that, and he's placed me in some of those positions. Um, and he understands that my heart is should reflect his heart, and then the heart of the ministry, and it all has to come together as kings and priests. We have to be able to hand off to each other and make sure that we're supporting each other. When we see each other getting weak, we do what we can to build them back up. And so, from legacy and being able to make a real plan on how this will all continue, is a priority with us, with the family and the ministry.
And you
Uh,
talk about family often. So I want
mhm.
to sit here for a minute because family is so important. At least it is to me, and I can tell that it is to you. But working with family is also not always easy.
No.
I know of other families, and I'm talking big name families,
Mhm.
who don't work together very well.
Yeah.
They don't
Yeah.
communicate very well. There's strife, there's fighting, there's war within the family, within the business. But and I've worked with my dad. I now work with my brother,
Yeah.
and there's a certain. And now I listen to you talk about how you work with your family. Has it
Mhm.
always been easy? Has it always been easy? Is it easy? Because it doesn't have to be hard. For us, it wasn't hard, but I'm just curious. Has it always been an easy walk in the park to work with all of mom and dad and sisters and brother?
It is, no, it has not. That's the quick answer. No, it has not always been easy. Me coming from, a secular world and doing cosmetology, or whether it was working
Mm.
for the Williams Clinic, or my mother had a daycare center, You kind of deal with people a little differently than you do when you're actually a church employee.
Mm-hmm.
There is a certain charge to your attitude and your posture, when you're working for the church. And there's been times, and I'm also over security. So I have to get a little ugly sometimes or a little forceful. And I'll tell my dad, Dad, let me take it from here, because
Uh-huh.
I can't do that. And I can't say that I'm a pastor. I said,
Uh-huh. My dad was, I'm like, Dad,
yeah,
let me say no. You don't want to say no? No problem. Leave it to
no
me and Chara.
problem.
We'll cut them off at the throat. And he was
Absolutely.
always just Jesus like, this Jesus spirit. I'm like, okay, no problem. We got you.
I said, that's okay. I got it. I got it. I'll
Uh-huh.
take care of it. And so, and there will be disagreements because of the exposure that I have to people in the public is a little different than exposure that he has to the people in the public. They act different when they're in front of him. When they get in front of me, some act the same way that they act in front of him, but some don't. And
Mm-hmm.
so I have to go back and kind of give him a summary of what I feel is happening. And I'm one that manipulation is one of my pet peeves.
Mm.
That angers me. I
You can
might get
spot it from miles away.
yeah. Oh, that gets me. That'll take me to 10 real quick. But those are some areas that we may disagree. He'll say, Melody, I need you to calm it down, take it down a notch. I said, no, I can't right now. But but we're allowed to have different perspectives. That's okay.
Uh-huh.
That's what makes us stronger together. People need to understand that that is a strength. It doesn't have to be considered a weakness.
It's interesting. My dad eventually just realized that my brother and I, when we both finally came on to working with him, it was probably the best thing,
Mm,
Melody, that can happen to him.
good.
Because no, even though he had other people in those positions, there was still no one that loved him the way that my brother and I do.
Yeah.
Therefore, there was no one that had his best interest and heart the way that we did.
Yes.
So he finally was able to,
Yes. Yes.
when we
Breathe.
came, he finally was able to be, because he knew that one thing we would never do is lie, cheat, and steal
Yes.
on
Yes.
him and from
Yes.
him.
Yes.
So he knew that and we would also see what he couldn't see. And then when he recognized that Charo and I were always, or we were ready to go to war,
Yeah.
even though it may have been different than what he would have done, because like he said, I can't say no, or I can't
Right.
say that, or he has to keep this face with the people. No problem, we got you. He eventually settled down, and now he would then say to people, whenever he introduced me especially, that's my boss, you have to go through her.
Oh, I
And
love
I
it.
said, there we go,
I love it.
there
Yes.
you go, power and authority all in one. But it's because they dad, especially when you have parents like ours who are serving the way they're serving, and they have the revelation from God, and God is just on their life just differently, if you will. And then you have now your children who's willing to back you up, you know like for a while my dad was standing on our shoulders, we were underneath, keeping him and mommy up, able to do what they can do. And now that he's no longer here, I'm standing on his shoulders. I'm standing on his shoulders, his legacy. And I I smile because I know it well. I know it well to have those discussions. My brother would talk about conversations he had with my dad, and sometimes they would go back and forth because he feels one way, because my brother does not like the manipulating, the lying, and dad is just so, and he wasn't soft. He was just Jesus like.
Yes. Absolutely.
And Jesus wasn't always gangster. Not always. And so in those moments, we really had to be like, okay, we got you. No problem. Um,
Blessing.
but it's been amazing working with my family. I wish that he was still here to see my brother and I still working
Yes.
in keeping his legacy alive, in keeping his legacy going strong. I wish that he was here to see my brother and I still after his own heart,
Yeah.
still
Well, he
putting
is here. He is here.
in the work. Indeed,
Yeah.
indeed. And so I'm living through as you talk about, still working for your dad, and your dad still being there, supporting you, and you supporting him. And
Mhm.
it's just a beautiful thing. And you have some families, it doesn't operate that way. It's
No.
unfortunate, but it
Mhm.
doesn't always operate that way. So it's a joy. And one of the other things that you and I talked about backstage that I do want to talk about, because here we are talking about these great, amazing men, and then these great, amazing men of God
Yeah.
who, when they are no longer here, like you say, they will still be here because of their name. They will still be here because they live a scandal free life. They will still be in
Mhm.
people's mouths because of who they intentionally made sure that they became and stayed.
Yeah.
But then there are you and I and your siblings and my brother who we can get lost.
Yeah, absolutely.
Our identities can get lost
Mhm.
in theirs as we continue to work and carry on the legacy. And how have you been able to craft your own,
Yeah.
if you will, your own identity, not separate and apart, but still even within, working
Mhm.
with, being so close and working with your father?
I think, when I first came on working for my dad, like I say, I was working cosmetology and salons. I was doing competition shows. We're getting custom outfits made, stylish mini skirts and high heels. I kept high heels on every day. When I came working for my dad at the church, I had a skirt down to my ankles, and some loafers on. I was like, I don't like this outfit. This is not me. But that also, uh, you can look inside of me and say, I was going through this, trying to figure out, how do I fit? How
Mm,
do I add value? How do I be me? You know, um, and how does that fit into the ministry? It's taken years, and I mean years, for me to find my place. And I'm still arriving, and I've got friends that are not in ministry. I got friends who are in ministry. And they know my heart. They know I'm a good person. They know I always love to serve. That was built in me as a kid. So some things never change, but some things do, and so just being able to balance that out. When I feel like I need a break, I'm on a plane, I go, and I mind my own business. I have a good time, I eat good, I like some good live music, and I just kind of woosah, because I have to be able to be in a place where I can decompress. And I don't have a lot of people looking at me over my shoulder trying to figure out, what am I doing, who am I talking to, what am I saying. And so I have to be decompressed, because it helps me recenter. Because sometimes we get so far to the left or so far to the right, we don't even recognize our own selves anymore. So I have to take the time to go somewhere and decompress where I know I don't have an audience.
because
It's
people are
important.
looking, like you say,
Yeah.
you want to be in a position where you don't
Mhm.
have to look over your shoulder and wonder, okay,
Yeah.
so who's going to see me drinking
Mhm.
this nice drink that I just want to drink today?
Right.
Or who's going to
Absolutely.
see me enjoying my time dancing on the floor with a little shake because I'm
There
from
it
the
is.
Caribbean, you
There
know?
it is. Juganu.
Exactly. Exactly. So,
Uh-huh.
we do have our own personalities and identities.
Yeah.
And it's interesting how I have a mesh, a fusion of my mom and my dad.
Yeah.
My dad was more the extrovert, and I'm not necessarily extroverted, but I'm also a people's person. So he was more the one to be, he didn't mind talking and being in front of the people
Yep.
and talking. My mom was very reserved and
Mhm.
very kind of quiet and didn't mind us being behind dad, just kind of wait till he's done with his stage, whatever. But she was also very uh well put together,
Yeah.
well kept.
Right.
When you see her, she was gonna look like something and more. So that's kind of me.
Mhm.
So now when you put the two like that together, it's
Yeah.
it's beautiful.
I love
It's
that.
beautiful. And I love that my dad could get loose. Like he was a very down to earth
Yeah.
pastor. He was a very
Yeah.
down to earth guy. And
Mhm.
people loved that for him because he was friendly. He was open. He made you feel like you existed no matter what position you held in a room.
Good.
From the
Yeah.
janitor to the king.
Mhm. Yep.
Didn't matter to him.
Mhm.
And that is what people would say all the time. And so I make sure that within my own personality, I don't get so uptight.
Right.
If my aunt and I, because my aunt now, of all of the family. She is the matriarch. My mom is no
Oh,
longer here. My
no.
dad is no longer here. Her husband was also on the plane, unfortunately, so he's no longer here. So
Got it.
she's left now
Oh,
with all of the kids.
oh,
And
okay.
her and I go back and forth sometimes because there are sometimes when I want to be out here a little loose,
Yes, yeah.
you know? And she is like, no, this cleavage is not
No.
going to work today.
She said, not today.
I'm
No.
like, is she aware I'm 40 plus?
Right. Yeah, she cut it off
But
right away.
you sometimes, you need to have that sometimes to kind of,
Mm,
you're going too far left, like you say, or too far right. Let's bring you back, so because there are people still watching, and there it is. There are people
yeah.
still watching, and
Yes.
people are always watching so they can have something to say,
Mm-hmm.
you know. So even
Yeah.
on the podcast, I make sure that I'm, not covered all the way up here all the
Right,
time,
right,
but I
right.
make sure that,
Absolutely. Yes. Yes. I get it. I did the same thing today.
exactly. What if I
Uh-huh.
did want to show a little bump,
Right.
Hey,
Absolutely.
too much is given, much is required.
Yes.
And it's fortunate that you and I
Yeah.
can't dare say unfortunate. It's fortunate that you and I have been given the legacies and the responsibilities
Yeah.
that we have been given, that we just understand our role. We understand,
Yeah.
what comes with that.
Yes,
And
we
like
do.
you say, it changes you. So if it means that with the responsibility that I have to serve people will elevate me and promote me, and it means that I can't show cleavage, then,
Right.
well,
That's what it
I have a
is.
husband, so I can show it for him. And,
Absolutely. I'm working on one of those.
oh, we won't. Oh, should we get into that? How's that
we
fit?
we can soon. It's soon. I mean, it's four
Okay.
months in. 4 months in.
I
He's
won't push it. I
right.
won't push it. We'll save that for the next
Right.
episode.
That episode, Lord.
So as we close, Melody, this has been an awesome, awesome, awesome interview. Thank you so much for being open. If you had to share probably the best advice that you can give to a man or woman listening to us right now, what would that be?
Our life is full of ups and downs, but there is a middle ground. There is a space where God is promoting you, empowering you, a space that really resonates deep in your spirit, your heart, and then it keeps coming around. I call it a 360. Find that space. Find that 360 that keeps coming around, and there you will find your calling and your purpose.
Absolutely. Find that 360. I love it. What has been the best advice that you've been given from a mentor, a coach, in this case, maybe your father, that you took and you applied and you saw the benefits of applying that?
Well, I'm trying to think of the exact saying that my dad gave me, but it's based off of, don't let anybody, you know, exchange, wooden bricks for your golden bricks. Life, God has given you and empowered you with so much, and you got all the tools within. So don't let the world steal that, from you. They belong to you. Those golden bricks belong to you. The world will try to trade them out for wooden ones, but hold those gifts and those things, close to your heart so that, they do truly belong to you. Don't sell out, to the world. The world's going to keep going, and it's going to at some place come to its demise. And for you to be separate, from the world is what will create longevity in your life.
I love that. Don't exchange your golden gifts for wooden gifts, or
Yes.
wooden bricks for gold bricks.
Mhm,
And if
mhm.
someone wanted to know, how do I tell the difference, or what's the difference? What is a good example of a golden brick that someone would exchange for a wooden one, or vice versa?
Well, I mean, one would be your gift for discernment. You
Mm,
may discern something in a certain situation, and someone will try to convince you otherwise. No, that's not true, but, and you think of it, some people say, go with your first mind.
go with your gut.
And
Mhm.
so that would be one example. It doesn't also
Mhm.
always have to be tangible.
Mhm.
Hmm.
No, that's a good one. That's a good
Yeah.
one because social media
Yes.
now would
Yes.
be one of those things that would like you to believe that what you've been believing is truth all this time. It's not so
Yeah.
much truth, it's just your opinion. And everybody
Hmm.
has those. And there's a big difference between opinions and facts and truth.
Yes, it is. Yes.
And when you
Mm.
decide that you're only going to caution on the side of truth,
Right. Right. Yeah. Yeah.
so much, so
Don't
much.
let, don't, and if you ever need to make a decision, don't base it off of money. My dad always says that too.
Uh,
When that pressure starts coming and they want you to make a decision and money is involved, don't let your decision be based off of that. Hold off, wait, kind of recalibrate and then go back in there. Mm-hmm.
don't let your decision be based off of money. We need
No.
to have a whole episode on just
Yeah.
very thing. That very thing. And I think and I say that because people equate purpose with money.
They do.
They
They,
equate excellence and excelling
yeah.
and or excelling and succeeding, sorry, with money.
Money.
And if I'm not making a certain amount of money, then I'm not successful.
Mhm.
If I'm not making a certain amount of money, then I'm not exceeding. If I'm
No.
not making a certain amount of money, then I'm not doing this thing.
You want something right. That's not
Absolutely.
always true.
But man, there are a lot of persons who are doing, making
Mhm.
money, mind you,
Yeah.
doing, but they're doing the wrong thing. And I say the
They are.
wrong thing. They're doing the wrong thing for who they are and why they
Yes.
were created.
Mm.
And your purpose may not always be the thing that gets you money the first, like right away, the
Right.
first time.
No.
But
Hmm.
if you stick in there and allow people to see your fruit, and your fruit is juicy and it's good and
There
it's
it is. That
plush
fruit.
because you're in there, because you're watering it, you're giving it all the nourishment it needs, people are going
Hmm.
to come asking you, where can we find this and how much do you want for it?
Yes, your proof is in your fruit.
Fruit. The
Hmm.
proof is in the
Proof
fruit.
is
Proof
in
is
the
in the fruit.
fruit.
Speaking of fruit, so tell us more about the Living Fresh Market and how we can get
Okay.
involved, or how does it work? Where do we find it?
So we've got, we're located at our shopping center that we have in Forest Park. It's called Forest Park Plaza. So Living Fresh Market is 71,000 square feet. So we've got a full service supermarket from fresh bakery, deli, hot foods. We've got a couple butchers on staff, but it's a large store that serves the community. We took it over right before, well, during COVID. The original owners were third generation grocer, and they just couldn't hack it anymore. And so we took it over in October 7th of 2021, and we've been running it ever since. The model, because of the model, there are many communities now who want a living fresh market in their neighborhood. We make sure that we preference in making and creating entrepreneurs out of the community, teaching people how to get their product onto shelf. And once they get on our shelf, they can go into any shelf in Walmart's, Targets, Mariano's, or any other grocery stores. And so that's a part of the legacy building. We also make sure that we're in tight relations as far as community relationships are concerned. We want to make sure that the community understands that we're not leaving. We're not going to desert them. We're going to stay committed to community. We're going to serve. We're involved in all kind of non-for-profits, from women's shelters homes to juvenile detention centers. We're trying to get into the schools so that we can provide fresh breakfast and lunch to the kids, so that they don't have to get these pre-made whatever it is with all these preservatives in it. We want them to eat fresh. We want them to learn how to feed their bodies, fresh produce and fresh vegetables and things like that, and the importance of how do you be a strong, healthy, student in school. What brain health is so important. They don't understand, that what you eat also affects how you learn. So that's living fresh. That was a vision, that came from my dad, Pastor Bill Winston, and feeding the people, not just spiritual food, but nutritious food from the shelf. So
And this is
that
open to any and everybody?
it is. It is. We have an online presence. We're trying to move around. Our next store is in Maywood, Illinois, which is a food desert. But we're also in talks with North Carolina A&T about putting the Living Fresh Market on their campus. So hopefully this will, it'll really grow to be something that's substantial. It's already substantial in my mind, in my spirit.
Hello.
But I love to see it grow even to the Bahamas.
Hey, we are open. We import a
Yeah,
lot of things anyway. So
yes,
hey, we are
yeah,
open. And the Bahamas
absolutely.
loves business. So um we're looking forward to it. Well, thank you so much. I'm gonna have
Thank
to tell my
you.
husband about this market and we're gonna have to check it out.
Absolutely. Livingfreshmarket.com. Hmm.
Absolutely. Well, Melody, it's been a pleasure. It's been a pleasure. I've learned so much from you and listeners. I'm sure, ladies and gentlemen, you have learned from this beautiful vessel who has talked about the highs and the lows. We've talked about a lot, and we hope that you saw and heard yourself in her story and my story, and you're able to say, if they can do it,
Yeah.
so can I. It's been a great episode here at the Purpose Finder podcast. And until next time, oh, before we go, speaking of food, we must end on my favorite note,
Oh,
which is food. I am a foodie. Okay, it shows in the mirror. Shows when I try and put on that outfit that don't fit no more. Like I love food. So, what is your favorite food and restaurant?
oh, well, I love some oxtails now. I will do oxtails.
Oh, that
I'm
she from the Caribbean girl.
a
I
Caribbean
love
girl.
oxtails. Uh huh. And so, your favorite restaurant?
Absolutely. Let's see. In Chicago, I like Gibson's. Gibson's Steakhouse is a good one. It's a
Gibson.
good, yeah, they got some good food in there, good people, good staff. I love the staff that works there. But yeah, I'm a frequent diner over there.
Oh, I have to check them out. I'm here
Yeah,
in Chicago as well, so
absolutely.
we love to dine well.
You know.
Oxtails are amazing. Amazing. Good girl. This is a good girl right here. Well, until next time, enjoy yourselves. We'll see you at our next episode of the Purpose Finder podcast. I'm your host, Charissa Monroe Wilborn. See you soon. And ladies and gentlemen, that is a wrap on this episode of the Purpose Finder podcast. I hope today's conversation lit a fire within you because purpose isn't just something you chase. It is something you live every single day. If this episode resonated with you, don't keep it to yourself. Leave a review on your favorite podcast platform. Your feedback helps us reach more people on their journey to purpose. Let's continue the journey together. Join the Purpose Finder community on Facebook for exclusive insights, tools, and a tribe of purpose-driven people just like you. And remember, the two most important days in your life are the day you are born and the day you find out why. Your purpose isn't far off. It's already within you. It's time for you to uncover it and live it boldly. Until next time, stay inspired, stay intentional, and keep walking in your purpose.